Hello, and thank you for joining us. It is a great day to be alive. I'm excited because I have one of my great friends, success coach Charlise Latour, is joining us again. You know, she's come so many times and blessed us, but this time she's going to take you to a new level because she's going to share with you how you can live a stress-free life. April is actually considered to be Stress Awareness Month. So I just had the liberty of just bringing you on to help us to release, relax, relate.
And I'm so excited to be here because talking about stress is one of my favorite things. We deal with stress so much in our lives.
Yeah.
And stress is such a big problem for people. And so it is one of my favorite things to talk about and to help people deal with.
Well, you know, personally, in regards to stress, it's something that you actually have gone through in your life. And at this time, I would like for you just to share, because I think sometimes we look at people and we see the success that they have and the life that they're living, the lifestyle. And with you, if they've ever watched a previous show, you're smiling and you're just like, okay, Tammy, just give me your hand because I feel the negative energy. You are just exuberant. But there's something behind that smile.
And it hasn't always been like that.
Yeah.
I don't think you know that when I was married, I had 5 stepchildren and 7 grandchildren. And at one point in my life, I had 8 people living in my house, including my mother-in-law who just had a heart attack. I worked 70 hours a week, and I was going to school full-time. And I thought 4 hours of sleep at night was normal.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, that was really a good night because there were a lot of nights when I didn't get that much.
How on earth did you manage? I mean,
you know, I don't know today how I managed, but I just did because I didn't know that there was any other way. And I was so blessed when I had a stroke. And I know that sounds horrible.
Horrible.
And it was horrible when it happened, but it was God telling me to stop because I couldn't stop on my own. I could not stop. When somebody said, I need you to do this, I said, sure, I can take care of that. And I was miserable, but I didn't even know I was miserable because I was so in that mode of I have to go get things done. And that stroke was one of the biggest blessings in my life because I had to stop. I took 3 months off of everything. And in those 3 months, I had to look at my life and really say, is my life working for me? And the answer is no. And I had to learn the word no, because that was not a word that was in my vocabulary.
No is good.
It's a wonderful word, especially when you use it with love. Because when you look at someone and say, I love you and I appreciate that you want me to do that for you, but I'm not going to do that for you, then that's a very different message than don't ask me for nothing. You know what I mean?
You said something that I want to reflect back on, because if someone asks you something, you felt obligated to do it. And I believe you began to operate in what's called the superwoman syndrome.
Absolutely.
But your life was spiraling out of control, but naturally you had no idea until your body began to say, shut down.
Yes, exactly. My body said, we are not going to do this anymore. And that was one of the best things that happened to me.
Looking back, what was one of the #1 signals that your life was not where it should be?
At the time I had my stroke, I was on all kinds of medications dealing with all these symptoms where my body was trying to get my attention. I got sick a lot. Of course, I couldn't stop when I got sick. I still went to work and still did everything when I got sick. But I was on antidepressants. I was on medication for urge incontinence because my body was screaming at me, please stop. And all I could do was go to the doctor and say, please give me another pill so I can keep going.
Wow.
So it meant I wasn't listening to my body. And so I took something big for me to stop.
Wow. And I heard you say that it sounds horrible to say that a stroke basically saved your life.
Yes.
Because today, now you are empowering women, men, a success coach, and you're teaching us how to just relax. Not only that, but giving us techniques how to move forward out of the past.
And how to be happy.
How to be happy with who you are.
And where you are.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in your life, there's something beautiful there. And so when you can be in that place of seeing that there's something beautiful, even when everything goes wrong, because it still does. It's not like I have a perfect life now and nothing goes wrong. The difference is that I have a lot of gratitude in my heart. And so I have a lot of tools. You know, you need a toolbox for dealing with stress. You can't deal with stress by just saying, I'm just not going to be stressed.
So what tools should we take out of the toolbox on today?
You know, the first thing that I'd really like to talk about is how you start your day, because the way you start your day sets the mood for the entire rest of your day, and not just your day, but the day of your family. So when you get up in the morning, do you roll out of bed going, oh, it's another day, I've got to get, and it's going to, and you already are starting to pre-program it to be a horrible day? Or do you get up and what do you need to do? I'm not a wake up early person. So that means I need to take the first 10, 15, 20 minutes to just wake up and do that gradually and gently, because I want to be kind to myself. And when I do that, the whole rest of my day flows better. And when I roll out of bed because the alarm went off and it jerks me awake, and then I'm rushing to get things done.
And you're hitting it and you're like, oh my goodness, you got a headache. And then you're like, I'm going to be late. You start going through that, oh my God, I'm going to be late. And then you're running around, I'm going to be late. Rushing the kids.
Right.
The dog's barking.
And you're thinking, I just can't deal with this. Then your whole day goes for like that, because how you start the day really sets the pace for the whole rest of your day.
Oh my. Should we be kind to ourselves?
I think so. I think it's one of the best things you can do. Think about the way you treat yourself, and then think about the way you treat your best friend. And then ask yourself, who gets treated better, you or your best friend? And I'll bet you that you treat your best friend a whole lot better than you treat yourself.
Why do you think that we have a tendency to do that?
You know, we've been taught since the time we were little not to be selfish, and we've taken not to be selfish to not have needs. And so not to say, you know what, I need a mental health day. And so I'm going to take the kids to daycare, and I'm going to go ahead and take a day off from work, and I'm not going to clean my house, and I'm not going to weed the garden, and I'm not going to go clean out the car. I'm going to take a health day and do something I need to do to recharge myself. And I'm going to start building in how I'm going to recharge myself into my life.
Because if we don't slow down and smell the roses, we'll become just stressed by every means.
Well, it's not just being stressed, it's also how do you relate to the people in your life, especially when you're home by yourself with just your family, and so you let your real self out, you know, the self of you that gets frustrated and you're screaming at the kids and you know, and the dog.
Real you.
Right, the you that you
no
don't.
one sees.
Right. But when you're being kind to yourself, then you can be kind in that place. And when you're mean to yourself, that's where you express all that frustration is at home.
Oh, wow. I love this. Pick your battles. Is that something we need to pull out of our toolbox?
You know, when you are in a place in your life where things are going wrong, don't add more onto it. So if you really want to lose weight or you really want to quit smoking, the time that you're in the middle of the biggest, most upheaval change in your life is not the time to pick for those things. Because right then, you don't have the capacity to make those kind of changes. And so it's really choosing, where am I and how much capacity do I have right now to do something different?
Oh my. When I think about picking your battles, I think about in marriages, we're always trying to fix our spouses. If he would just do this, or if you would just, I don't understand women. That's what men often tell us. And so we're trying to fix them, they're trying to fix us, and together we have just a disaster waiting to explode.
You know, what's really interesting is if you start saying, if I didn't have that and I wasn't seeing it, they wouldn't be showing it to me. So when somebody is in that place, they're doing something that gets on your last nerves, stopping and asking yourself, where's that in me?
Yeah.
Because when I clean it up in me, then it isn't out here anymore.
That's really good.
So
really
if it's like you're always late, where do I need to look at that in my life? Where am I always late?
Oh, wow. We're de-stressing today in regards to setting the tone for our day, be kind to ourselves, pick our battles, plenty of rest. Is that something that should be vital day to day?
Yes, everybody needs rest. And this is like balance of work and play too, because rest isn't just about sleep. So if you stop and think about your day, everybody has different needs. So you may talk to one person who is really okay at 5 hours of sleep, and you may talk to somebody else who really needs 10 hours. The goal though is to have really restorative sleep. It doesn't matter how many hours you get. If you wake up and you still feel exhausted, something didn't happen. What do you take into bed with you? If you watch some really violent movie right before you go to sleep, what are you taking into your sleep? How is your bedroom organized? Is it the kind of thing where you've got like laundry piled on the bed and everything and you're trying to sleep there too? You know,
wow.
Can you get it dark? You know, those are the kind of things to think about is how do you organize your life? And one of the things that I use a lot for sleeping when I'm struggling with sleep is there's Sulfuego music. And we're going to put this all on my website so you don't have to take notes.
We're going to talk about the music in a little bit. Let's take a commercial break, because sometimes people don't understand that just the sound, the tones, the rhythm, the beats actually sets the tone for your day.
Yes.
We're going to be right back with success coach Charlise Latour. I love you so much. Stay tuned, you guys. I'm being blessed by this. It's time that you love yourself, de-stress, let go, release, and relax. We'll come back.
Hey everybody, I'm Ron Cottom, introducing to you a brand new program right here on WEPH. It's called 911 Soul Ministry, where every life is an emergency. It's designed to help you and challenge you in your faith. Join us each week for 911 Soul Ministry right here on WEPH.
We're back. Now I just want to start this. Now that we have plenty of rest, we have to pay attention to our bodies.
Yeah.
Does our body send signals when things are going wrong?
It's not just signals, because some of it's sickness. If you're getting sick all the time, that's a message. If you have symptoms, that's a message. But it's also, how do you feel? So when you watch a television program, for example, do you feel better after you watched it or not? If you get up from watching a television program and you feel like you need to barricade your house because there's predators fixing to get you, then maybe that wasn't a great television program for you to watch. You know, we have the option. We have hundreds and hundreds of channels now. You can pick things that make you feel good. You don't have to pick the things that make you feel bad. And if you're watching people that are fighting on TV and some of these reality shows where they have like all this conflict all the time.
Drama.
And when I get finished watching something like that, I feel exhausted. I don't feel better. And then when I watch something else that really lifts me up. I like Super Soul Sunday on Oprah. I like to watch that because it lifts me up and I feel good when I watch that.
So it'd be safe to say that we need to make sure that we choose something that's inspiring and uplifting versus something that's very dramatic.
Or something that makes you laugh. It doesn't have to be serious all the time, but ask yourself the question, do I feel better after I watch that show?
So television media, of course. What about people, surrounding ourselves with the right people?
And I want to go back to something with television and media first, and we'll go on to that. And this is another place where I think people don't understand. If you have the TV on in the background, you're not paying attention to it, so you think it's not affecting you. Your subconscious takes all of that in and it goes right into your programming. So if you have all that stuff on, even if you're not watching it, it's not like you're not getting it in you.
So for children who leave their television on with profanity and all of the, I call this foolishness of the world, and the parents are trying to figure out, where did he or she learn that? Television.
Turn it off some of the time. And television is great and it's wonderful, and I'm not
Please don't, because we're on television.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but at the same time, pick and choose what you watch, and pick and choose leaving it on all the time. I mean, noise is a form of pollution. And so when it's just on and it's on in the background all the time, you know, there's houses where it never gets turned off. Turn it off sometimes.
I used to do that because I was studying the art of television. But then I transitioned to music, where I would just serenade my home with music. And I noticed that the difference in the music, actually when I would walk in, if I had a day that was just horrific, once I walked into my house, my attitude changed because of the music that had surrounded the home. I could see the shift that was taking place.
And it's choosing the music that makes you feel good. So it's not about having somebody say, this is the music you should listen to.
What
because
makes you feel good?
It's about what I feel good when I listen to. Because I use music. One of the ways I use music is I have a playlist that's called Feel Better. Because when I don't feel good, I know if I play that playlist, I'll feel better. But if I wait until I don't feel good, then I can't put together a playlist then. Because then I'm feeling so bad that I can't even pick out what music makes me feel better.
So while we're de-stressing, what about just practices of prayer, meditation? Is that
I think
important?
Everybody needs to have at least 10-15 minutes of contemplation a day, and more is definitely better. That time when you sit with yourself and you let silence come in. You don't have to do it in your house. You can go out in nature. You can do it with a guided meditation CD. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that, but really allowing yourself to be in that place of just tuning everything else out and just being with yourself. That's also when you can really hear the messages that are being sent to you.
Now, do you all do that in the Reiki circle that you do here?
We do. Reiki is an excellent way to just it balances yourself, because you get yourself out of whack, and it's just a way to balance and relax. We do a lot of setting intentions and sending healing to people, and so it is a great way to, and it's free. So
wow. When do you actually host those?
It's once a month. The dates are on my website, so we'll link to that as well.
Give us your website while you're talking.
Yeah, it's www.charliselatour.com. And the next one is May the 4th.
Okay.
And it's from 1 to 3 on a Saturday, so
wow.
at the Holistic Center.
I think that's wonderful, because on Saturdays, many times as mothers specifically, we either go shopping or we're out, we're busy, but I believe that it's time for us just to take a day just to relax.
And it's only 2 hours.
Internal healing.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Comes from within.
And comes from that, getting that just chilled for a minute place.
So what would be a typical, I guess, just meditation that you would, because we've done this before, and it worked. And I told you all, I said I wouldn't do anything that I felt was not real, because
right.
they know Tammy is very transparent. And so it was a day that I was just like, oh my God, I walked into the studio and he was like, give me your hand. Do you feel this? And it was actually just a tapping that we begin to do. And you kept saying, do you feel the energy? And I was like, I do. And before long, I was very relaxed and ready to record. So I just wanted to say, I thank you so very much. And I went back and watched the show and I was like, that really works.
There's simple things you can learn. What you're talking about is EFT. EFT is something that there are lots of things on YouTube where you can go put in EFT or tapping, and there's lots of information that'll come up. There's information on my website. There are books. So there's lots of ways you can get information about tools like that.
So someone that's watching right now, they know that they're stressed, at their wits' end, their blood pressure is rising, they're upset, they're frustrated. What would you suggest as a means for them to relax right now? Just something that they could just do right now.
You know, the biggest thing that people do when they're stressed is they stop breathing. They start breathing very shallowly and holding their breath. If you take some long, deep breaths, that all by itself will help you de-stress.
Wow. What about somebody that's angry that maybe just has a tendency to hit holes in the wall, or they're just...
You know, hitting is one of the best ways to deal with anger.
Really?
It is, because it gets that up and out. So it's a very powerful thing to do. What you want to do is, instead of hitting holes in the wall, pick something that's not going to get hurt and go hit it. And use your words so you get the whole experience. So at my house, that means a frying pan on the bed. That's how I go ahead and get out when I'm angry.
Wow. Yelling, screaming.
Get it out.
Go outdoors, right? Or does it
Outdoors is great. Indoors is great too. If I live by myself, so I can go in there and have a whole fit and nobody looks at me.
Oh, wow. What about exercise?
Exercise is wonderful, and find something you like to do. So I like to go dancing. I'm a member of the Tupelo Ballroom Dance Club. I go, I have a private lesson on Tuesday. We have a group lesson on Thursday, and I go to the dances on Friday, because it's great exercise and I have fun and I like it.
Wow. So there's so many different rituals that we could actually do to de-stress. You have to see what really works for you personally.
Yes. And stop making it a chore. So when somebody says to you exercise, and then all you think about is walking on a treadmill at the gym, and you're like, I'm not doing that, that's not, then don't do that. Do something else. Go play tag with your kids in the yard.
That's really good.
Yeah, do something you like.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're probably stressed because of your children, and you just need to connect with them.
Yeah.
Just to become a child all over again, because there's a child on the inside of us. We just have to tap into it.
Well, and it also means you have a much better connection with your kids when you do that. Because the connection with your kids gets lost when you're always being the adult.
Say that once more.
The connection with your kids gets lost when you're always being the adult. You don't want to be their best friend. That's not the point. But to have some time when you go play together, and to find things you like to do together.
Wow. So with that being said, is laughter good? Is that a form? Really?
Yeah. De-stressing with laughter is wonderful.
Find a great comedy, a great movie. Laugh
Pick your
till you cry.
Yes.
Have you done that before? I have.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the worst points, I would just find a crazy, funny movie that I knew would purposely make me laugh.
Yep.
And just eating popcorn, because that's my favorite pastime.
Yep.
And then in the end, I'm laughing, and all of a sudden I'm crying, and I'm
Because you let yourself have the release that you needed.
You said something. You let yourself have
Yes.
the release.
Most of us walk through life and we have this set of rules that we were taught when we were little about what's okay to do, what's okay to let other people see you do. And those rules vary depending on what household you grew up in and what family you grew up with. But the rules are there and they live inside you. And you have the power to change those rules. Wow. But most of the time we're so busy living those rules that we never even understand that they're in there, much less look at how we can change them.
Wow. And with change, I think that we have to begin to read. There are some books that are here. They're actually on the screen, and I love this because the very first one says The Art of Extreme Self-Care. You have one, The Woman's Comfort Book. Oh my goodness. Who's that by? Jennifer, is it Loudon?
Loudon.
Wow.
I like this book because it has a list in here of how you're feeling, and then it gives you references to different things you can do to feel better.
Oh, wonderful. This one says, When the Body Says No, Exploring the Stress-Disease Connection. Wow. It's time to relax, release, and just let it go. If you have questions or concern, I'm telling you, Success Coach is here for you. Charlise Latour. I have to turn to you and say that because I don't want to mispronounce your name ever again. But there are plenty of literature that's here for you, even cards that are available. And then the Reiki Circle there, she talked about that. You need to make sure that you connect with her because life is so precious and we have to take time to smell the roses. Live in the moment.
Yes.
Live in the now. Live in the moment. Stop focusing on what coulda, shoulda, woulda. Live in the now and enjoy life. Well, thank you so very much for joining us. Always a pleasure. We look forward to connecting with you again.
Absolutely.
Love you, love you, love you. I'll see you all very soon while we're moving forward with Tammy Tubbs. Let's see what the Spirit has to say. Stay tuned. Hey, we're back, and I'm so grateful that you're here watching the Tammy Tubbs Show moving forward. I want to encourage your hearts on today to just listen to God. One of the things that he tells us is to cast our cares on him. I just had a segment with Success Coach Charlise Latour, and she gave you her testimony of how she literally had a stroke in the midst of all the calamity and everything that was going on in her life. I want to encourage you on today, take a deep breath and let God be God in your life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10 clearly states that the joy of the Lord is your strength. Declare that with me on today. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Sometimes you have to make it personal and understand that where you are is not where you're going to be always. You have to begin to set the atmosphere in your home. I gave you a simple synopsis of what I do daily. Instead of coming home to a house of silence or the television going and things are spiraling in the atmosphere, I set the tone in my home in regards to how I want the music to be. So sometimes I leave classical music on, sometimes I leave jazz music on, and there are times when I know that I need to be empowered and uplifted, I leave gospel music on. So I want to ask you on today, do something different that you never thought that you would do. God tells us here many times in Matthew 6:23, if we would just do what he tells us to do, then we can receive all of the things that we want. He tells us to be fruitful, to be multiplying, to be subduing, to be increasing in Genesis 1:28. That's your mission. That's your purpose. My first guest, I tell you, wonderful woman of God, Pastor Rhonda, gave you her testimony of how she manifests her destiny within the purpose that God had given her through being raped and molested. She had to learn, as Genesis 1:28 tells us, to subdue the situation before it began to subdue her. What did she have to do? She had to let go of the past. Again, cast your cares on him, for he cares for you. You may have to do what I had to do when I was going through the process of the death of my children. I had to speak to the mountain. Does he not commission us in the word of God to speak to that mountain? That mountain may be suicide. Your mountain may even be depression. Your mountain may be, you know what, my finances are not where they need to be. I have a spending addiction. You have to begin to literally open your mouth and speak the word of God. The life and death of your situation is in the power of your tongue. That's the word. Power of the power, the power, the power. You have to understand there is power in your mouth. All you have to do is simply open it up and live again. Moving forward, letting go of the past. You have to decree this and declare this with me. I shall live and not die and proclaim the works of the Lord. Why? Because the joy of the Lord is your strength. Because God loves you. In John 3:16, he tells us that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That's enough right there to shout. That's enough right there to throw your hands up and say, because he loves me. He loved me so much that he's going to provide for me, that he's going to take care of me. But there are some natural things that you have to do. De-stress. Be at peace. Tell the storm, peace, be still. I'm reminded of how the ship was raking and the winds and the waves were being tossed and flowing. Jesus was sleeping in the boat. What did he do? They came down. Jesus, Jesus. They're rushing because they're paranoid, because they're stressing like many of us do when we're in turmoil. We begin to stress. He wakes up because he began to utilize that power, began to utilize that authority. And what did he say? Peace, be still. Some of you watching me right now, you need to talk to that mountain. You need to speak to that storm and simply say, peace, be still. I know you may not see your way out, but I'm going to return back to my first love. You're going to have to love God with all your heart, soul, your mind, everything that you have, and trust him enough to know that he has a plan and purpose for your life. Does he not say that in Jeremiah 29:11? He knew you from the beginning. Even when you were in the womb of your mother, he knew you. So the stress, the pain, all of the things that may seem to be chaotic in your life right now, it's working together for your good. The word says that all things work together for him that believe. Are you believing God to turn that situation around? Are you believing God to do exceedingly abundantly above all you could ever ask or think? I know that you are. I'm touching and agreeing with you right now that your situation is working on your behalf. That God is opening doors, that God is favoring you, that God is increasing you more and more. But I'm going to ask you to do this one thing finally. Peace, be still. Tell that storm, peace, be still. Trust and believe that God has already provided and he's made a way out of escape. I love you all so very much. God bless you, and I'll see you next time on The Tammy Tubb Show. Until then, be blessed.